Welcome to the Inside Silverstone podcast, a business-focused podcast covering all things tech, engineering and innovation. Hosted by me, Chris Broome, a huge tech, motorsport and gaming fan, and also the owner of Longhurst, a firm of lifestyle financial planners and independent financial advisors located in Silverstone, Northamptonshire. This is a series of unscripted and unpolished conversations with leading business owners, thought leaders and high-tech talent where we discuss their experiences within the Silverstone business and motorsport region. We will also be asking them to share their knowledge, insight and their thoughts on the future just for you. If you're looking to learn more about the Silverstone high growth region and commercially connect with like-minded peers, you've definitely come to the right place. Welcome to Inside Silverstone. Welcome to the next edition of Inside Silverstone. My name is Chris Broome and I am your host. Today I am delighted to welcome to the show Harrison Goode from EdgeTech Headhunters. Harrison, welcome to the show.
Hi Chris, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely delighted. As is customary, as I always explain at the beginning, I would love, if it's okay, just to run through a bit of a career snapshot so that we can introduce to our wonderful dear listeners the sort of path you've been on ahead of launching EdTech Headhunters. Is that okay if I do that?
Yes, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, sure.
So I grabbed all this off LinkedIn, as I always do, and it's pretty straightforward. You have always been in recruitment. Is that right?
Yeah. I think probably a shorter career history than some of your other guests. So
that's not a bad thing, though, but it's still a very impressive one and a quick moving one. So it looks like ultimately you've always been involved in a sort of technology-based recruitment. Is that right? And if so, sort of why technology? What was the sort of hook for this sort of community?
Yeah, sure. So I fell into recruitment just over 6 years ago, as I think most people do. I don't really think anyone goes to university and thinks, I'm going to try and study a degree in recruitment. I don't think that exists. I fell into recruitment, and straight away I sort of loved the aspect of speaking to people, working with organizations to understanding what they're looking for and trying to match the two together. And originally started off in ERP recruitment, enterprise resource planning, so it was always tech from the start, and then that sort of developed into more niche technologies as they started to become more apparent in the business world that we sort of work in. And then it really just took off from there, and it snowballed. And as the technologies became more popular, I became more interested, and it became much more of a passion for me as I became more involved.
And so that sort of evolved up until 2018, where you then basically left an employed role, presumably, and alongside two colleagues of yours at that time, so Will and Ollie, you then sort of left employed life and set your own business up.
Yeah, I think it was we were at a restaurant having lunch, as all good stories start.
Having a bite to eat and a beer.
Yeah, and then we all sat together and thought, we could, we're young enough to be able to take this risk now. None of us had families at the time. So we thought now's a better time than ever to take this, to take this leap of faith. We all believed in, what we could do, our ability, and we're all good at what we did. Decided to take that jump and set up EdgeTech.
So before we get into the business itself and what you guys specialise in, just for those listening that haven't made a jump yet to open a business themselves, but especially as we're recording this during COVID, a lot of new entrepreneurs are going to be coming out of this environment, whether it be because they've been made redundant or they're on furlough, or indeed they're just having a think about changing direction. What was it like opening a business? Because on paper it sounds fantastic. Over lunch we're going to do this. We could do this job better, or make more money, or make it more efficient. But actually, what is it like opening a business, especially with two friends?
Yeah, and especially two friends who know as little as I do about starting a business. It was scary, but I think one of the good things that we found was having each other there as almost a support network. If we had any questions, we're all particularly strong in certain areas and different areas as well, which we found have become, more apparent as the business has grown. But at the start, it was very scary. It takes a lot of time and effort to truly understand different aspects of business. Going from being employed and just doing your job to then managing all aspects of a business, it's such a contrast. And I think as long as someone is able to adapt quite quickly, and you're willing to learn and willing to fail at the same time, then I think that's the main thing that we kind of found. So yeah, it was tough, but we're happy that we made the decision to take that sort of risk, and it's paid off so far. So yeah.
Good. And you said that the three of you sort of complement each other in relation to sort of different skill sets. So what do you bring to the business? What's your specific skill set, and what's Will's and what's Ollie's?
I think mine is probably just the looks, to be honest. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, well, you did say the other two didn't want to come on this recording. So,
Yeah, they've got a face for radio, but...
face for podcast.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But I think with Ollie, he's particularly good at finance and finances and maths. So he was naturally strong in that area. I think from Will's perspective, from a business side, he just totally gets the way that businesses work and run and operate. I think he did a master's in business management. So that kind of naturally, falls in his court. And from like a marketing and sales perspective from my side, I think that's what I naturally bring to the business as well. I'm quite passionate about that side of things, and I think all three of those areas kind of complement each other.
No doubt, and you're right. Having the three of you, where you can fall back on each other, you can soundboard ideas, and in the safety of a boardroom, and as you said, also learning from mistakes, which is the best way to grow and move forward. So, Edge Tech Headhunters. So let's talk about the business. So, in simple terms, what is it that you do? What are your niches? What makes you a little bit different than a traditional recruitment company in technology, or just generically in the UK?
Yeah, so Edge Tech, we're a disruptive technology headhunting business. I suppose I'll touch on disruptive tech in a minute, but in terms of the what we do sort of day to day, we work on permanent and contract roles across the UK, Europe, and into the US as well. We're quite focused, as I said, into disruptive technologies, and that can mean a number of things for different people, but we see it as any technology that is emerging where there's a high demand for people with those skills, which are hard to find. And that's where we step in and really do our best work. It's what we get paid to do. It's what we're good at. The technologies that we class as emerging or disruptive at the moment, I mean, these are always changing. So there's never one fixed sort of technology, but the ones that we're seeing quite a lot of interest in and quite a lot of traction from are robotic process automation, which links onto intelligent automation, machine learning, data science, natural language processing, and we do bits and pieces into IoT as well, which is the Internet of Things. So that's anything from connected car, smart cities, connected home, industrial IoT as well. And we work with businesses right across the globe. So big software vendors who create this technology for organizations. We work with large consulting firms like the Big Four. We also work with smaller boutique advisories and consulting firms, 1-2 man bands. And we work with industry and end users who are implementing the tech. And that can be anything from your big banks through to sort of retailers like Tesco and Sainsbury's, and everything in between as well. In terms of industry, it's very, very broad.
Okay.
So yeah, we cover everything, but in terms of the specifics, it's just quite focused in technologies.
And how do you, it's going to sound like a really silly question, but how do you find, noting that's quite focused and niche and specialist, i.e. the people that you're looking for, new technology, how do you find those people?
So for us, we heavily rely on our network. We we do pride ourselves in the networks that we've built up, both as an individual, but also as a business as well. A lot of the stuff that we do is very sort of old school headhunting, I suppose, methods that we use, rather than, you know, sort of going on a job board and trying to find someone who's uploaded their CV. It's very much mapping out the market, see what competitors there are for this organization, understanding what other businesses use that technology, and proactively going out and approaching people who aren't necessarily even looking for a career change. And they don't actually know that they want to change, but by the time we've spoken to them about this amazing opportunity that we've got, they're on the end of the phone or on the end of a Zoom call, and they're like, yeah, I'm actually really interested. And then that's how we sort of go about it. So it's very proactive, and it's very bespoke for each business that we work with, depending on what they're looking for.
Okay, let's talk about some of the disruptive technology pieces that you listed, because if I'm honest, some of these I don't even know, which is great. And I'm involved in tech and working with a lot of the businesses at Silverstone. Yeah. So robotic process automation. So I think I know what that is. But what is it?
So a lot of people confuse it for actual robots, but it's not at all. It's a piece of software that can automate repetitive tasks within an organization. As you can appreciate, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are doing quite a lot of data entry, or say, for instance, processing invoices manually. You can, have a software robot that comes into your organization that can take away all the boring aspects of your job, like that data entry or processing the invoices, do that all for you, and it allows that person to sort of focus on other areas of the business, maybe more customer facing tasks. From a business perspective, it obviously helps streamline a lot of processes, can potentially save quite a lot of money, certainly when it comes to customer complaints and other things like that. So we're seeing almost every business adopt this sort of technology at the moment.
So forgive me, this is going to sound like a really naive question, but so where's the recruitment angle there? So you're talking about a software that is brought into a business to enable another human to move on to a different role. So where do you fit into that circle?
So these organizations need specific teams to implement this technology. So in doing so, they can use a consulting firm, which sometimes is a route that a lot of businesses take. It can prove quite costly, or they can hire people in directly, independent contractors, to do this for them. Once this is all implemented, they still need to grow that team to sort of manage that business as usual, but also continue to grow that program. It's, I suppose from that aspect, it's almost, it sounds like a robot's coming in and you don't need any recruiters, but in reality, you do actually need us to come in and help provide those expertise to deliver these programs and projects.
Yeah, fine. And as you said, technology evolves and changes, and so the need for future recruitment of a human specialist to implement that bit of tech is never going to go away. In fact, it'll probably keep growing, if anything, especially the specialism aspect. Intelligent automation, you said, so that obviously naturally leads on. So what's that in a nutshell?
So that can be, it's very closely linked to RPA. It's almost exactly the same in certain areas, but a lot of businesses class intelligent automation as a piece of software that can do something which is more than just data entry. Say, for instance, we know an organization where its software can read sort of handwriting, almost like OCR, optical character recognition, and translate that into text or create actions from that and push it to the right department. I know a lot of stuff nowadays isn't always handwritten, but even certain tasks that are almost ad hoc, that aren't, rules based, where there's something guaranteed to come in and the robot knows when to do that. It can be something completely random, but the technology can analyze that and knows where it needs to go or knows what task it needs to do. So it's slightly more intuitive. Sometimes that technology will not need any human interaction. Sometimes it needs human interaction at the end to check things. So there's different varying levels. Obviously, I'm not an expert in the tech, so in terms of giving a super technical explanation around what they do, it's quite tricky. But it's what we class as an advanced version of sort of RPA, really.
Okay, cool. And you also mentioned things like obviously artificial intelligence and smart cities, for example. So we've had some previous folk on from Tomorrow's Journey, Immense, who are sort of all involved in that space as well. So for those that aren't aware of what a smart city is, in your tongue, what's a smart city? Why is it important to us, based in Northamptonshire, Buckinghamshire, on planet Earth? Why is it important, and how will that impact our life in the future, do you think?
Yeah, so the Internet of Things is quite a strange one, because when the Internet of Things was when the idea was sort of conceived years and years ago, people couldn't quite wrap their head around it, about all these devices being connected to each other and talking to each other. In a smart cities context, we're actually working with an interesting business about how they build smart cities and smart communities. But the way that all of your devices talk to each other, it basically means that the city and the community involved in the city can become much more efficient. So, for instance, when you're driving down a road, if they have a smart road which can regenerate energy when a car drives over it, that energy can be stored back and put into the local community power supply to generate the lights. And then you can have small things just such as sensors in the lights. So when you walk past, the sensor will go on, and when there's no one there and there's no movement, the sensors will go off and save energy. So in terms of a community, it is all about efficiencies. It's all about practicality, and it's about making people's lives easier as well. And that's one of the things that we've seen it slowly integrating nowadays. And obviously privacy is a big thing with a lot of people, with sharing data, and data is at the heart of all of this anyway. But that's, I suppose, another story for another time. But we're seeing these advancements, with businesses pushing new things out, some really innovative things. And I think, in the next sort of 5 to 10 years, it will just become the norm, where you're walking down the street and the street light in front of you will turn on, or you'll pull up to a shop and it will already know your shopping list and have stuff prepared for you because it's linked to your shopping list back at home. It's good, isn't it? It's good.
I mean, even Amazon, is learning, isn't it? And it's pretty, especially during COVID, where everyone's freaking buying stuff off Amazon, and it'll be able to preempt based on a month, a year, what's going on in your life, things that you're watching on TV, potentially what you want to buy.
Yeah.
Which is in part scary, another point efficient, as you said, to be able to rock up to a shop and it's pretty much got your shopping list. But also the thing with turning lights on and off, you think about it, I think that's just common sense.
Yeah.
Why doesn't that already exist?
Yeah.
So, very exciting. I think the data piece is obviously a concern for a lot of people, and I think there needs to be, for a number of reasons, including legal reasons, there has to be some more work on that. But fantastic space for you guys to be working in, which is good. Talk to me about the meetup group that you're also part of, or sort of co-founded. What's that? And for our community, which is the Silverstone Technology Cluster community, we're also working in part with Digital Northampton loosely. What is this meetup community, and why should people get involved?
Yeah, so when I first started working in the RPA space, I used to speak to a lot of people who wanted to share knowledge, wanted to network with other people, and there wasn't really anything out there. There were the big expos that people could go to, the trade shows, that sort of stuff, and the events that the vendors put on. But there wasn't really anything that was just in a relaxed environment where people could have a beer, have a couple of speakers, talk about the tech, or talk about what's going on in the space, or just to have a discussion. So I decided to put a meetup group together in London, where people could get together. We used to do it when we were allowed out of the house for longer than once, an hour a day. We used to hold them sort of every quarter.
Nice.
So not every month, but often enough that people can get together. We'll put on a couple of good presentations and just get a load of people in a room and just talk about the tech. Sometimes it's not even talking about the tech, it's just catching up with people that you don't get to see all the time, or that people have made connections with before, and just having a drink. So I started that quite a while ago, and it continued, and it seems to be going really well. We get about anywhere between sort of 50 to 120 people attend each time.
Nice.
Which is quite good. So yeah,
is it paid for? Do you have to pay to attend, or is it free?
No, it's free unless we put on drinks. Then we ask people to just pay like a small sort of attendance fee just to chip in. Or if we're holding it at a sort of nice venue, then we let people know that it's costing a little bit for us to sort of host that, but which is understandable. But it's good fun. It's meant to be more informal and relaxed for people to kind of just get together and just knowledge share and network. Really.
Make friends, grow friends, stay in contact, and from your perspective as a business, smart idea. Getting a room full of people that are potential clients, but also just to further grow your connections. Really, really good idea. You're based out of the Innovation Centre, so you're based on Silverstone Park, which is next to the Silverstone F1 race circuit. I forgot to ask, are you part of the STC? Have you joined the STC?
No, I don't think we are. No.
Oh, okay, well that's something you guys should consider. That's something you should consider doing. It's relatively inexpensive. It's another community full of people that I think you will want to get to meet. But also I think there'll be some natural cross-fertilisation with your event in London. I would come down to that. I know a number of other people that would probably make a journey, especially if it's once a quarter, to go down to that. Definitely reach out. If you haven't already connected with Pim, who's the CEO of the STC, I would endorse doing that. But you obviously based yourself out of the Innovation Centre. Why did you base yourself there? Of all the places you could go, why Silverstone Park?
So when we were looking for our first office, we were looking around the sort of Milton Keynes, Northampton type area. I'm based in Milton Keynes. My other business partner, Ollie, he's Northampton, and Will's sort of somewhere in between. So we were looking at somewhere ideally equidistant for all of us. We looked at a few places in Milton Keynes. They weren't quite right. We didn't get the right sort of vibe. Same with Northampton as well. There were a few there. But as soon as and I think if Ollie was on this webinar, he would attest to this. But as soon as all of us actually went into the Innovation Centre, we kind of just thought, this is when you know. We just sort of walked in and we got a really good feel from everyone there. We had a look at the place that we'd be using as the office, and as soon as we walked in, we all just looked at each other and just said and we'd looked at quite a few places before we looked at Silverstone, and it just clicked straight away, and you just kind of know.
Good. And are you working with any clients on Silverstone Park or within the community?
No, we're not. No, a lot of the stuff is quite automotive focused, and although we've done quite a bit from the IoT perspective around sort of connected car and automotive, that sort of area, and we work with a couple of businesses who are automotive organizations who are implementing RPA. We don't actually, we've attended a few of the networking sessions. I know they do like pizza lunches and stuff that we've been to, which of course we love. But who doesn't love a pizza? But we haven't worked with anyone. But we've made a lot of connections, and we speak to a lot of
these things take a bit of time. I definitely said endorse the STC consideration, which may help that. Before we get on to sort of 25 minutes in, which is great, before we get on to the last few questions, just bringing it back to obviously EdgeTech Headhunters, I'm really keen to ensure that we sort of convey the message of what type of businesses you're looking for and to potentially meet, and what type of individuals out there who may not be thinking yet, or indeed know that they're looking to potentially change role. So business-wise, as a shout-out, so what type of businesses are you looking to sort of collaborate with?
So businesses, I think it's any business really that's looking to transform the way that they work, whether they're trying to adopt a new emerging technology, then they should certainly speak to us about how we can help either advise around organizations that they could potentially look at using or speaking to, or potentially how we can help them find perhaps a contractor who's been in and done and delivered a very similar sort of implementation for a specific technology set. So if any business is considering any of the technologies we've spoken about, I definitely think have a conversation at least, even if it's not for a recruitment purpose, if it's just to understand if there's anyone in our network who could help them, then, we'd be happy to do that as well. So business wise, any sort of organization who's looking to sort of disrupt and change the way that they work, for the better.
Okay, great. And I love the fact that with the connections as well. So even if there potentially isn't a recruitment role yet, actually you would obviously be happy to open up the black book, and certainly within the meetup group or anything else that you're part of, certainly locally in Buckinghamshire, Northamptonshire, to help connect the dots.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Cool. And what about individuals? So we obviously have a lot of individuals listening to the show. So what type of person?
So individuals, it's quite, we work on quite a range of positions in the spaces that we work into, anything from board level down. So if we've got VPs and, C-suite directors who are looking for a change to move to an organization who's doing quite a lot of this tech, or if they want to get involved in these technologies, then definitely reach out. But all the way down through, project and program managers, business analysts and developers. Even if you've just started your career out of university and you're looking to move into these spaces, we know organizations that provide training or can bring you up to speed to get you involved in the space that if you want to move in. So anyone, it's quite hard because there's not one particular position that we really recruit for. It's quite a broad range. I would just say if anyone's interested in moving into the technology areas that that we've spoken about, then reach out and we can have a conversation about what organizations are looking or what skill sets they look for that are transferable, and how you can kind of get yourself involved.
Have you got involved with the Silverstone Park schools project?
Yes, yeah. So Ollie went to speak at one of the schools. I can't remember which school it was, but
there's a few locally.
Yeah. So Ollie went to speak at one. And I think he spoke about what options you have after finishing university, and what sort of routes you can take. So he spoke to one of the schools there. So we're heavily involved in that. That's
good. Well, that's the point, isn't it? So if you get them when they're a bit younger, they're about to make some decisions on A levels or GCSEs, in fact, and potentially then university. Great. Right, Ollie. Going to start pulling this episode to a close, so thank you for coming on. Before I get on to the last two questions, is there anything that I haven't asked you, anything that sprung to mind that you want to sort of say whilst we've got you on air?
Not that I can think of. Just I guess if anyone's interested in finding out more about edge tech or how we can help, or any of the technologies that we spoke about, and if we can refer people who who might be able to help with your programs, or if we can talk about recruitment, then get in touch.
Cool. And we'll make sure, if you give me some links, we'll make sure we leave some website links and what have you in the show notes, so people can find you easily. That said, Google is a magical thing nowadays.
I think we're on page 1, so we're not doing too bad.
Yeah, definitely. Embarrassing stories or embarrassing mistakes. So we like to share people's occasional stupid decision making, hopefully business related, but doesn't have to be. We've had some absolute corkers. I haven't asked you pre-interviewing what your embarrassing mistake is. Is there anything in your sort of young business owner journey or career to date that you'd be prepared to share with our wonderful listeners?
I think from my, it's quite hard because obviously we're still starting out, the business is still quite young. I'm sure there are a lot of stupid mistakes bound to take place in the next few years, but there was one that springs to mind is last year we actually purchased a piece of software for the business that didn't even really work and wasn't ready for the business. It didn't integrate with anything that we did, and we were locked into a contract, and we just found ourselves just paying for something that we weren't even using. And I suppose it's not super embarrassing because I think a lot of people have been in that position before.
But that's quite common. We had the same at Longhurst. So we subscribed to a bit of CRM system, software for our clients, which I didn't sort of test. I didn't really stress test enough before I subscribed to it, and realised it was too clunky. It wasn't really suitable for our type of financial planning practice. And agreed, we were locked in as well. So those are annoying mistakes, but invaluable ones, because you'll never make them again, right?
No, exactly. Everything that we're sort of considering now moving forward, we double, triple check. Does this work? Are you sure? So yeah, that's one thing that's kind of stood out. Not super embarrassing, but
well, look, we'll get you back on the show in a few years' time. So you potentially have a few grey hairs and maybe something a bit more embarrassing as well. So good. Life advice. So we always conclude, because we know we've got some of the students from some of the local tech colleges, universities listening to this, which you're also supporting as a business, which is great. Is there any life advice that you would give a slightly younger version of yourself, apart from double checking software before you buy it? Anything else that you could share as a piece of sort of wisdom?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would say is just take the risks when you can, and certainly when you're young. And if there's an opportunity presented to yourself, then just to take it, because I think it's better to take it and do it and perhaps fail, and rather than sort of look back and think what if, and just I think you've always got to take the risks and not play too conservative. But I think at the same time the risks need to be calculated, but I think you just need to go for it, because you never know what can happen. So that's what I would say. I think
Bravo, I think it's a great bit of advice. We have the same sort of analogy on our website. So live a life without regrets.
Yeah, completely.
So we've got one life. Life's not a rehearsal. So great. Harrison, thank you so much for coming on the show, especially during this COVID moment. Hopefully in the future we can do a sort of roundtable sort of mastermind sessions with yourself, maybe some of the Silverstone community, perhaps people that are part of the meetup group in London. We could sort of do a collaboration. So our thinking caps on. But for now, Harrison, thank you very much for coming on the show, sir.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
The Inside Silverstone podcast is produced by the team at Longhurst for the benefit of those with a passion for all things tech, engineering and innovation. For more information, please visit longhurst.co.uk/Inside Silverstone, whilst also remembering to give us a 5 out of 5 star rating on iTunes. Please note that neither Chris Broome or Longhurst work for Silverstone Park, Silverstone Circuit or Silverstone Technology Cluster.